Most people think emotions are either good or bad. They believe anger should disappear and sadness should be avoided completely. But emotions are not enemies trying to destroy your life. They are signals trying to tell you something important about yourself. The real problem begins when emotions start controlling your decisions. One moment of anger can damage years of trust. One emotional reaction can create consequences that last for months. Emotional control is one of the most powerful skills in life. People who control their emotions are not emotionless robots. They still feel stress, disappointment, frustration, and fear, like everyone else. They do not let temporary feelings control permanent decisions. They respond carefully instead of reacting impulsively in the moment. Emotional control is not about suppressing what you feel inside. Ignoring emotions only pushes them deeper into the mind. Eventually, those buried feelings return with even greater intensity later on. Real control comes from understanding emotions instead of fearing them. Your brain wants immediate release whenever emotions become intense. But a short pause can completely change the outcome of a situation. In those moments, your emotions become louder than your logic. That is exactly when self-control matters the most. A calm pause gives your brain time to think clearly again. It allows logic to return before words or actions create damage. Even 10 seconds of silence can prevent unnecessary conflict sometimes. Powerful people understand the value of controlled responses. Another important skill is identifying what you actually feel. Many people say they are angry when they are actually hurt inside. Some people appear cold when they are secretly feeling fear or insecurity. Misunderstood emotions often become destructive emotions over time. Self-awareness changes everything about emotional control. The moment you understand your emotional triggers, you gain more power over them. You stop reacting blindly because you recognize patterns within yourself. Awareness creates space between emotion and action. Your environment also affects emotional stability more than you realize. Constant negativity trains the mind to remain emotionally tense all the time. Stressful surroundings slowly reduce patience and emotional resilience. That is why peaceful environments help calm the nervous system naturally. Sleep also plays a major role in emotional control. An exhausted brain becomes more reactive and impulsive throughout the day. Small problems suddenly feel much larger when your mind lacks proper rest. Mental stability becomes harder when the brain is physically drained. Another major mistake people make is taking everything personally. Not every rude comment is truly about you. Sometimes people project their own pain, stress, or insecurity onto others. Understanding this can prevent unnecessary emotional suffering. Emotionally strong people do not absorb every negative interaction deeply. They know how to separate their identity from temporary situations. One criticism does not define their worth as a person. That mindset protects emotional balance during difficult moments. Breathing may sound simple, but it directly affects emotional reactions. Fast breathing signals danger and stress to the nervous system. Slow breathing helps the body return to a calmer state naturally. Your breath can either increase panic or reduce it significantly. That is why controlled breathing works during anger and anxiety. It interrupts the body's stress response before emotions fully escalate. A calm body makes it easier for the mind to think clearly. Physical calmness and emotional calmness are deeply connected. Another important habit is avoiding emotional decisions during intense moments. Strong emotions distort perception and reduce rational thinking temporarily. People often say things they regret when emotions become overwhelming. Time creates clarity that emotions cannot provide immediately. Professionals in high-pressure situations understand this very well. They do not panic during stressful moments because they train emotional discipline consistently. They focus on solutions instead of feeding emotional chaos internally. Calm thinking creates better outcomes under pressure. You also need to accept that emotions naturally come and go. No emotional state lasts forever, no matter how intense it feels. Anger fades, sadness softens, and anxiety eventually slows down too. Remembering this prevents emotional moments from feeling permanent. Many people suffer because they resist emotions too aggressively. They panic the moment uncomfortable feelings appear inside them. That resistance often increases emotional intensity instead of reducing it. Acceptance helps emotions move through the mind more naturally. Confidence also improves emotional control in powerful ways. Insecure people react more emotionally because they constantly seek validation from others. Their mood depends heavily on how people treat or judge them. That creates emotional instability and unnecessary inner tension. A confident person still feels emotions deeply, but they do not collapse emotionally every time life becomes uncomfortable. Their sense of self remains stronger than temporary external situations. That inner stability creates emotional maturity over time. Another powerful skill is learning when to stay silent. Not every argument deserves your energy or attention. Some battles only drain your peace without solving anything meaningful. Emotional intelligence means choosing your responses wisely. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness by emotional people. But controlled silence requires enormous self-discipline in difficult moments. Reacting emotionally is easy because impulse demands immediate release. Remaining calm requires strength, patience, and emotional awareness. Your thoughts also influence your emotional state constantly. Negative thinking patterns create emotional tension throughout the day. If your mind always expects failure, conflict, or rejection, emotions become heavier. Thoughts and emotions feed each other continuously. That is why mentally strong people monitor their internal dialogue carefully. They do not allow every negative thought to become permanent truth. Another important part of emotional control is managing expectations. People become emotionally devastated when reality does not match their expectations perfectly. Life becomes frustrating when you expect constant comfort and fairness. Flexible expectations create greater emotional resilience during challenges. You also need healthy ways to release emotional pressure. Keeping stress trapped inside the body creates emotional overload eventually. Exercise, journaling, reflection, and honest conversations can help release tension safely. Emotional release prevents small frustrations from becoming emotional explosions later. Comparing yourself constantly to others also damages emotional peace. Your mind becomes trapped in feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. Social comparison creates emotional instability because someone always appears more successful. Peace becomes impossible when self-worth depends on comparison. Emotionally mature people focus more on personal growth instead of constant comparison. They understand that everyone moves through life at different speeds. Their emotional state is not controlled by another person's success. That mindset creates healthier emotional balance internally. Forgiveness is another form of emotional control that many people misunderstand. Holding on to resentment keeps emotional pain alive for years. The mind keeps replaying old wounds instead of healing from them. Sometimes forgiveness is more about freeing yourself than excusing others. This does not mean accepting toxic behavior repeatedly. It means refusing to let past pain control your emotional future forever. Emotional freedom becomes possible when resentment loses its grip on your mind. Letting go creates mental space for peace and clarity again. People with strong emotional control also understand their limits. They know when stress becomes too overwhelming to ignore. They rest before reaching complete emotional burnout unnecessarily. Self-care becomes part of emotional discipline instead of selfishness. One of the most important lessons is understanding that emotions are temporary visitors. You do not have to obey every feeling that enters your mind. You can acknowledge emotions without becoming controlled by them completely. That awareness changes how you experience difficult moments. Mastering emotions does not happen overnight. It requires practice, patience, and repeated self-awareness every single day. Some days you will respond perfectly, while other days you may struggle deeply. Growth happens through consistency rather than perfection. The goal is not becoming emotionally cold or disconnected from life. The goal is becoming stable enough to think clearly under pressure. True emotional strength is staying calm without losing your humanity, and that ability can completely transform the quality of your life.